Hello, book lovers, and thanks for listening. I post new chapters every week. If you like my work, please remember to like and subscribe to help me build my channel. The Stillwater Girls by Minka Kent. Narrated by Jennifer Schafer. Chapter 20. Nicolette. Davis doesn't use his turn signal as he pulls into his driveway this morning. Then again, he wouldn't need to. There are no neighbors for miles. The ruts in these dirt and gravel country roads leading up to his secluded acreage are his and only his. The clock on my dash reads 8:54 a.m., which confirms he's still working nights at the factory in the next town. He's going on 3.5 years now of steady employment, a new record. I kill my engine just as Davis climbs down from his truck and slams the door. It's only when he jerks his head in my direction that I realize he had no idea I'd been behind him for the past couple of miles. His thick-skinned, sun-spotted hand rubs at his chest as he steps toward my car, and I roll down my window. I don't bother stepping out. I have no intention of making this anything other than a quick and painless, for him, visit. Always a bit of a recluse with hermit tendencies, he's never been a big fan of company. The one time I did stop by unannounced, it was early in my relationship with Brant. I'd brought Davis some leftovers, hoping I could score brownie points with the one family member who seemed to mean anything to my boyfriend at the time. I'll never forget the way he blocked the door with his guarded stance, peering down his nose as if I were Cinderella's evil stepmother delivering a poisoned apple. When I'd told Brant about it later, he said not to take it personally, that his brother didn't like unannounced visits, or most people for that matter. My visit today is unannounced, but the $1,000 personal check resting on my passenger seat should remedy any minor inconvenience this may have caused, dear Davis. Nicolette. He yanks the dusty ball cap off his thinning head of hair and wipes his forearm against his furrowed brow. Do you have a minute? I ask. He scoffs. Do I have a choice? I reach for the check, handing it through the open window. He yanks it out of my fingers before examining it. What the hell is this? He asks, clucking. Brant know you're out here? He does not. I sit a little straighter and clear my throat, and I need for it to stay that way. Davis's gray eyes skim over the check before landing on me, and he forces a huff through half-pursed lips. Folding the check in half, he tucks it into the front left pocket of his blue plaid shirt. Don't tell me. Trouble in paradise? He asks, though his tone is all amusement and zero concern. I need to know what you know. I cut to the chase. His lips peel apart, revealing his tobacco-stained smile. You got a lot of nerve, Nicolette, driving up here in your rich bitch car, thinking you can wave a check in my face and I'll squeal like a pig. My chest tightens, and my gaze flicks to the steering wheel for a second before daring to return. I won't let him shake me, even if I hate that he's got a point. He's not been himself lately, I say. I'm just wondering if there's anything you know, anything at all. I realize I'm asking the world of you, but you have to understand, your brother, he's my world. Ain't that cute? Davis laughs through his nose before scratching the tip of it with his pointer finger, the nail of which is caked in dirt. Listen, I don't know what makes you think I know a damn thing about my brother's dealings, but he hasn't said a word to me in months. Not since he kicked me out of your humble home after asking me over for dinner. Clearly, Davis is still bitter about that night, and clearly he's not taking an ounce of responsibility for his behavior. Typical. If you're asking me if I know if he's stepping out on you, I don't, Davis says, though somehow I don't find the comfort I was hoping for in his revelation. If you're asking me if I think he ever would, I don't know, Nick. Can't imagine it's a walk in the park being married to you. My fist clenches around the steering wheel. And what's that supposed to mean? I resist the urge to scream at him, to tell him he knows nothing about our marriage. He doesn't know the first thing about love, commitment, or human decency. I don't know. Just seems like he's always kowtowing to you, he says, bending over backward to make sure you have everything you need, making sure you don't have another one of your episodes. He lifts a hand, curled fingers insinuating air quotes around the word episodes. I've heard enough. Davis is either lying and covering for his brother, or he's truly just as in the dark as I am. Either way, he's not the wealth of information I'd hoped he'd be. Screw you, Davis. I start my car and check the rearview mirror, though the latter move is unnecessary. Davis has no visitors, no friends. He's an island, though he's more like that island of trash that floats around the Atlantic Ocean. No one wants him. No one knows what to do with him. I'm cashing the check. He pats his pocket as I shift into reverse. Fair enough. That's what I get for trying to make a deal with the devil. Backing into the dusty road, I shift into drive and head home. Bank account a little lighter, but mind just as heavy. Hey, Nikki girl. My lifelong best friend sing-songs my name into the phone later that afternoon. Just checking in on ya. I roll my eyes. Kate means well, but I don't need to be checked in on. I'm not a child staying home alone while my parents jet off to some exotic locale. I'm fine, I say. It's so weird not having you here, she says. I had all these plans for us for New Year's. I know, I'm sorry. I wish I was there. I really do. So why aren't you? Her question is serious, but she laughs through her nose. I don't understand why you all of a sudden want to spend winter in that frozen tundra hellhole. No offense, I know how much you hate winters up there. I see you've been talking to Brant. She pauses. More like he's been talking to me. He called you. The sound of rustling papers and slamming desk drawers answers me before she does. She must be working. He did, but only because he was concerned for you. I drag my hands through my hair before clasping my hand across my forehead and resting my elbows on my knees. I can't get comfortable lately. Can't sit still. Can't just be. Kate, he's making something out of nothing. I'll be fine up here, I promise. I don't need to be treated with kid gloves, and I don't need to be made into some crazy person just because I have a little seasonal depression. By the time spring rolls around, I'm usually down to one antidepressant a day and back to appreciating life again. I get that you two worry about me, but you're both overreacting. I bury my disappointment with Kate because I know she's coming from a good place, and she has no idea what's behind my decision to stay. But she knows me better than anyone, maybe even better than my husband, since we've been friends nearly our entire lives. Our families summering together in Nantucket since our grade school years. She should know me enough to trust me and let it go. Maybe I can come up there, Kate asks. Just for a week or two, or 3. I'm feeling masochistic. She snickers. You hate it up here, I say. Yeah, but I love hanging out with my best friend. So those two things basically cancel each other out. Fine, I say, a tease in my tone. I'll allow it. I want the biggest guest room, though, she says. The one with the soaker tub. I'll have to make sure that one's available, but we should be able to accommodate you. She laughs. Glad to see you haven't completely lost your sense of humor. Why would I? Kate hesitates for a moment. I don't know. You just seem down lately. Off. I don't know how to describe it. When I talk to you on the phone, you just seem more distant. Like you're not you. And Brant notices it too. Thought maybe you're slipping into... Kate. I say her name with a groan. We've taken 10 steps backwards here. Please stop worrying about me. Book your damn flight and get your fine self out here so I can see what you look like without that everlasting tan of yours. I managed to get a slight chuckle out of her. I don't even think I know what my actual skin color is anymore. So come find out. Fine, she says, a smile in her tone. I'll look at tickets as soon as we hang up. Thank you, I say, with the teasing arrogance of someone who just won an argument. She's quiet for a moment. So am I. Nick, she asks. Yes. You'd tell me if something was going on with you, right? She asks, clearly in the mood to beat a dead horse. Just, we can talk more when you get here. I shut my eyes tight. I knew it, she says. Oh, God, something's wrong. What is it? I don't know, Kate. I don't know. She sucks in a quick breath, releasing it into the receiver. You're scaring me. I'm looking into some things, I confess, though I won't elaborate until she's here, until I can tell her these things in person. Until I know more, I don't want to say anything, but that's why I'm staying here. Kate's silent, which is unusual, and I can almost picture her pacing her terracotta tile floors, nibbling on her hot pink manicure. Nick, Kate's voice falls. At least tell me if it's Brant. If you two can't make it, there's no hope for the rest of us. Can we talk about this another time, I ask? Like when you're here? Yeah, of course, she says, speaking slowly, as if she's still trying to process this information. I'm booking that flight tonight. I promise I'll text you the details. Perfect. Kate is quiet again. Then she exhales into the receiver. What? I ask. This is really going to bother me. Her tone is teasing, yet not. And I'm going to be up all night worrying now. Please don't, I say. At this point, I'm doing enough worrying for the both of us. Just book that flight and we'll chat more when you get here. I use the word chat over talk in hopes it'll quell her worries. Chats are fun and casual. You only have a talk when things are about to get real. I hang up with my best friend and reach for the glass of Pinot Noir to my right, the one sitting beside the half-finished bottle. To my left lies our wedding album. Something about finding my marriage potentially on shaky ground makes me want to comb through the entirety of our relationship, examining all the bits and pieces and corners and crevices, scrutinizing every memory to ensure we were truly happy from the very beginning and that it wasn't all in my head. In perfect clarity, I can still recall the moment he walked into the Berkshire Gallery. Approaching the front desk, he stated his name and that he had an appointment with Mr. Berkshire. There was nothing out of the ordinary about our little exchange, except for the way he looked at me. Pure captivation. I remember losing my breath, but being physically unable to look away from those piercing eyes. Bright like a green variation of turquoise, but soft like sea glass. And his hair, sandy blonde, with tendrils that hung over his forehead. That man was a work of art himself, more wondrous than any of the art adorning the stark white walls of our galleria. And within a matter of seconds, I managed to convince myself that he probably looked at all women that way. Men like him, the ones with the breathtakingly unfair good looks, were as prevalent as the giant rats that inhabited the subway system and the 5'11" Eastern European beauties who came to the city in hopes of signing with Wilhelmina or IMG. They were just a part of the landscape, a part of the culture here. You only really noticed them if you were looking for them, and Lord knows I wasn't looking for this one. Mr. Berkshire came out a second later, our moment suspended, and as soon as they disappeared upstairs, Marin told me Brant Gideon was the next hot thing. And she would have known. She had her ear to the ground in the New York art scene, and I was nothing but a naive 22-year-old with a shiny new art history degree, the ink barely dry on my diploma. When Brant came out of his meeting, he wasted no time asking for my number and securing a date for Friday night at some cozy, off-the-radar hotspot in the East Village. All I remember is wanting to say no and to seem aloof and uninterested, but my heart was galloping so fast I couldn't think straight. So Marin answered for me. I didn't know it then, but he would propose to me right there, in that East Village bar, exactly 1 year later. A year after that, he would marry me at my parents' estate in Nantucket, swearing his undying love to me in front of 624 guests, refusing to let his new bride out of his sight for even a single second the entirety of the evening. And when the night was over, he slipped my heels off my tired feet and carried me to a waiting car that whisked us off to a waterfront hotel room, where we somehow found the energy to make love, not once, but twice, and then again the next morning, before our flight left for the first leg of our European honeymoon. We were happy then. I refuse to believe we weren't. Flipping through our photos, I linger on each and every one until the nostalgia hits me with a burst of both blissful longing and undeniable sadness. And then I move to the next. Our smiles were giant, our eyes sparkly and full of life, napping under the Eiffel Tower in Paris, sleeping in an Irish castle, cliff jumping in Finland. Our honeymoon, in all its magical bliss, is all there, fully documented. When I get to the end of the album, I find copies of the vows we'd written to each other. Pulling his from the protective sleeve, I reread the words. His neat, tight handwriting with exaggerated loops filling the space of a 5x8 slip of linen heirloom paper. Nicolette, I never believed in love at first sight, and I never thought I was the marrying type. But then I met you, and everything I thought I knew about myself changed. Just like that. Let me first say, shamelessly and unapologetically, that it was your beauty that caught my attention at first. But by the end of our first date, I knew you were so much more than your sapphire sunlight eyes and your contagious laugh and your grace and intelligence. I couldn't get enough of you. I don't know that forever would ever be long enough together, but there's only one way to find out. I carried your ring around in my pocket for months before I had the nerve to ask you to marry me, while I was certain you'd say yes, because by then we were in the throes of something so perfect and so right. Part of me was terrified you'd say no, and that I'd have to live my life without you, which at the time seemed like a death sentence. But one night we walked past a Cartier window, and you stopped by the rings, pausing for just a second when you thought I wasn't looking. And I knew you'd say yes. So I asked the next month, and you said yes. And now here we are. So, Nick, because you've made my dreams come true, the least I can do is promise the same to you. From this day on, you have me. You have my love, my support, my honesty, my trust. You have everything you could ever need from me and more. All you have to do is say the word and it's yours. Your happiness is my happiness, now and forever. That is my vow to you, my darling. I return the vows to the back pocket of the album and close the binding. Taking another sip of wine, I stare ahead at the crackling fireplace across from me, thinking of how he used to call me his darling, and wondering when it was that he stopped. I can't remember. What else have I forgotten? End of chapter 20.